Hello, my name is Kevin McCabe. I am the February 2001 Wild Oak Trail 100 winner. For me, that was my second 100 miler. I've gone on and run a number of 100 milers since then. But I'm here today interviewing Ben Wyrick, the October 2021 Wild Oak Trail finisher. Ben, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everybody. Kevin, I can't believe that was only your second ever 100 miler. Wow. So yeah, I'll introduce myself. Obviously, I love the Wild Oak Trail 100. I've done it 3 times and it kicked my butt every single time. I have not raced extensively. Like 100 miles is so hard. I don't understand how people do multiple of those every year. So for me, I'll just try to do 1 or 2 a year, and that's like my thing. I started running in high school. I ran in college. I ran for a Division III college called Allegheny College. And, so obviously I'm not some kind of elite level runner, but I'm also into backpacking. So I've backpacked the Appalachian Trail, and you just put that together. Like you put together your love of running with love of nature, and then you get into ultras. And a friend kind of pushed me to get into ultras, and I really love them. And so that's just what I do. And then I live locally to the Wild Oak Trail. So it's a 25-minute drive from my house. So I train on it all year round. I'm really lucky. And then, you hear about, oh, there's this race and people try to do 4 loops of it. And it's like, okay, I'll give that a try. And so it's become a big part of my life, ultra running. It's and just running in general has just been really big in my life.
Okay. And so I know that you are local. How is it that you actually did hear about it? Is it someone out on the trail or?
I don't remember, whenever I go out there, there's hardly ever any people out there. So, it's not like trails in some areas where there's just a big trail running community. It's a pretty quiet trail running community around here. Around the time of, when people are training for Grindstone or Hot TWOT, you'll see some runners out there on the trail. But outside of that, there's never anybody out there. So I think I probably heard about it online, but I don't remember exactly how I heard about it. But I'm pretty much a lone wolf runner. Like I'll go out there, and I love the running community, but usually I'm just out by myself.
Yeah, and I know, like, as you said, you haven't done a whole lot of races. I know you've done Wild Oak and Grindstone and Hard Rock. So those are all very interesting races. Obviously the first 2 share portions of the course. And so I guess how would you compare like the 3 of those races? Like how, I know they're all different and they're all very challenging, but
I was hoping you were going to ask me that, because I got out my training log and went through, and I think you can talk about all 3 of those races in the same sentence and have them be comparable to each other. Grindstone was my Hard Rock qualifier, and I wanted to do Grindstone because it's a local race. So local races really intrigue me, because it's like, well, these are the mountains I train on all the time. And then once or twice a year, people show up, sometimes from out of the country. People fly in to do Grindstone or to do, the TWOT. And it's like, well, I want to try to represent myself on these local trails and see how I can stack up against these other outside runners. So that just really appeals to me. So, Grindstone is the easiest of the 3.
Yeah.
Even though I've DNF'd it 3 times. So Grindstone is hard. I've finished 3 times and I've DNF'd 3 times. Grindstone is just hard. And then, but that's the easiest of the 3. But then, you got TWOT and Hard Rock, and I think they're really comparable. Listen to this. So this year, in the same season, I did Hot TWOT and Hard Rock, and they're only, 3 months apart? They're only about 3 months apart. And I did a 35-hour Hot TWOT just over the weekend, and I did a 36-hour Hard Rock back in July.
Wow.
So 35, 36, that's pretty close. If you want another data point, in last year, I did hot twat and hard rock as well. So again, same season. My hot twat was 32 hours. My hard rock was 34 hours. So it's like a 2-hour time difference. And let's see, I think I found one more data point, but it had to be from 2 different years, 2020 hot twat and 2018 hard rock. So we are talking about, 2 different years, but the numbers are just so interesting. Hot twat 2020, I was 35 hours, 23 minutes. But in hard rock 2018, I was 35 hours, 22 minutes. So there was a 1 minute difference, so it's like, they're comparable.
Yeah.
Hard rock and the twat, they're comparable. And if you like a hard race, they're both hard. But the problem with hard rock is you're going to wait for years until you get into the lottery. And with hot twat or cold twat, if you have the resume, the RDs will let you in, and you don't have to do the lottery thing. And you can have this crazy hard challenge without having to wait for years for it. If you're ready to hurt, you can get your hurt on right away.
Okay. So if I just followed you, you've done 3 hot twats, right?
Yes.
So have you ever done the February version?
No, y'all are crazy. Because, my thinking, I'm okay with cold weather, although I don't know if I'm okay with cold weather for that long. And I obviously love the course. So it's intriguing to me. I think I would enjoy it maybe, but the problem is I'm not in that good of a shape in February. Right. And I don't think I can do 4 loops unless I'm in top shape, because I just deteriorate. My first loop is always really good, and then I just get slower and slower and weaker after that. And that's with me. That's with me being 100% trained up, and really in shape and tapering properly. And I can do that in the summer and in the fall because that's when I'm training hard. Mm-hmm. But then in the winter, I don't train that hard. I just maintain. And so how do you do 4 loops in the winter or more? Because some people have done more. How do you have that level of fitness in the off season? So it intrigues me, but it scares the heck out of me. I think y'all are crazy.
Well, thanks. Yeah. So I was going to ask, did you encounter any strange weathers in your times? If I recall, most year or the past couple of years in October, the weather's been gorgeous.
It's been good. This year, the weather was very mild, very runnable. It was like I was wearing t-shirt and thin gloves for a lot of it. And sometimes I would take the gloves off, so then it's just like t-shirt kind of temperatures. And sometimes I'd have to put on a long sleeve shirt. And there was one point on the 4th loop where I was getting so cold this year that I did have to put on my jacket. I had a little rain shell that I put on. But this year the weather was very mild, very, very reasonable. But last hot twat, it really lived up to its name, and it was hot. And I never run shirtless, like in training or in racing. I don't, I think it's very rare that I ever take my shirt off, but I did for last year's hot twat. It was just so hot. Wow. And I thought that would maybe kill my time, but it was 3.5 hours faster last year when the weather was hotter. So what's up with that? Maybe, I don't know, who knows? But I think the hot twat weather is not going to be a huge factor, for runners, because October in Virginia is pretty mild, so I think weather is not going to be a factor if you do hot twat. If you do cold twat, you better be prepared. It could be really great, but it could be like, it could be deadly if you're not careful in cold twat.
Right. Or it could be both,
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I experienced when I went out there for my race, is that when I showed up beforehand, Eric was out running the 200, and it was, as you described, beautiful. But then overnight it started snowing and things completely changed. So
It's very serious. If you do cold twat, do not go out there with some skimpy little pack,
right.
and do not go out there if you've never trained in the snow and ice before.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that brings up an interesting point. Like, as far as, what do you, I guess you never have an issue with there not being a Camp TWOT. So you always can refill your water there, I'm guessing, right? So you don't
Yes.
like filter or anything while you're out there.
No, I don't filter anything because I don't mind carrying 2 or 3 or 4 hours of water at a time. Some runners, if they're the kind of like they want their handheld water bottle,
Yeah.
and they're just trying to go as light as possible. But I think the TWOT loop, the water sources are unreliable, like creeks and stuff. I think it's much better to rely on an aid station or a drop bag that's just cached in the woods somewhere, like at the road crossing,
Right.
and then just use that to get you onto the next one.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Yeah. See, when I ran, everything was frozen and there was no drops. So I had to carry 10 hours of water. So I was curious. And that's really my only point of reference was that 1 year. Every other year I've done either a single loop or missed it. So
Yeah,
I guess
really
being
have to-
local, what are there any parts of the course that you particularly love or hate or love to hate?
I would say I love it all. It's hard. There's no point when I get to it. It's like, oh, I got to get through this part. There's no point like that. Like it's all great. There's runnable parts, a few,
Yeah.
not many. There's runnable parts, but then when you get tired of running, there will be a long climb for you where you get to walk for a while. So I think it's a nice mixture, a little bit runnable, mostly you're going to be power hiking, and it's, there's not a lot of views. So it's not like Hard Rock where every step you want to take a picture because it's amazing views everywhere. It's a sort of thing where you're in that green tunnel, with no spectacular views until, every few hours, there's usually this overlook where you can look out through the trees and then you get your view. So because there's fewer views, they're more special.
Mhm.
And I like that about the TWOT course. You're not doing it for the constant amazing views. You're doing it for these, long awaited, oh, there it is kind of views.
Right. Okay.
By the way, before I forget,
Yeah.
see that?
Yeah.
That was a briar. Briar snagged me on loop number 2. I didn't even see it. I didn't even see it coming. I was going down the descent off of Little Bald, heading down towards Camp Todd, and just
Wow.
smacked me.
Oh man. Do you wear glasses when you run, or?
No, normally I wear contacts, and I wear contacts when I race. But this morning, I rolled out of bed, and I'm still in the middle of pancake breakfast right now, and I haven't taken the time to walk upstairs, which would be difficult. Walk upstairs and put my contacts in. So I'm basically just rolled out of bed.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, wow. I mean, I guess with glasses it wouldn't be quite as scary, but I guess who knows, your glasses may end up in the forest. But
I think it's not a bad idea to, to have some kind of eyewear, because there's no, crew of trail maintainers who go out there and maintain some kind of 4 foot wide by 8 foot tall trail corridor. It's not a manicured trail. It's wild. And people do go out there and take care of it, because if we didn't, it wouldn't be a trail anymore. But there's just not enough of us to make it into some kind of manicured trail. So it is wild. You got to be ready for it.
yeah, I recall running through the briars are all iced over, so it means a lot of just pounding through trees that are trying to grab you.
It's way worse if you have some snow and it's bowing down all the briars and the laurels. And I was out just doing training runs around the time when you guys were doing that cold twat.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, this is so bad,
Mhm.
because it was so, kind of overgrown with the snow weighing down everything.
Yeah, I actually did a lot of mental preparing based on the videos that you were posting up on the trail to show how severe the conditions were even before the race, you know.
Good. I'm glad somebody was watching, because I thought, people need this data so they can be prepared for it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know that it really changed anything other than putting me in the mindset of this is going to be insane and very hard, and I need to be prepared. So, but anyways, so yeah, I guess, particularly for me, I didn't really have the luxury of the aid stations or a crew or pacers. Obviously, pacers are not allowed. Like, I mean, how do you think that would affect, like your experience, like out at Hot Pot, you know?
Yeah, so I think the hot twat is a lot safer than the cold twat, because and I was getting tired on my fourth loop this year. I just wanted to go to sleep on the trail. And I'm like, well, if I go to sleep on the trail, I will not freeze to death. I'll just
Mhm.
sleep for an hour or two, and then I'll wake up, and there's no risk. There's really no risk, because it's mild temperatures. You can't do that in the cold twat. Like, if you do that, you're dead.
Yeah.
Really. And so I think pacers is a big deal, and not being allowed to have a pacer, I think it puts that personal responsibility onto the runner, and you have to have the experience and the good judgment to be able to say, yes, I can do this. I can go out for one more loop. I'm in good enough shape that I can get back if it takes me 10, 11, 12 hours, whatever. And I think, a lot of runners don't have that kind of experience yet, because they're used to pacers, and they're used to easier races. And so, if you do the twat, understand that that is a big factor, is not being allowed to have a pacer. And so you really do need to have that kind of experience that you get from other races, or really serious training runs, or personal projects where you're doing solo stuff. So you need to have some kind of really good solo background before you try to do the twat.
Right. So, I mean, have you done any extensive like long hikes or things like that?
Your audio was cutting out, but you were
Oh,
asking me about long hikes.
yeah, yeah. I just asked if you have any experience with those sort of things, what prepared you for what, or
Yeah, so I did through hike the Appalachian Trail. I technically it's not a through hike, because I did it in 3 sections.
okay.
So I did the first section with a small group of people, and then I did the second section alone, and the third section alone with my dog. And and I think that is something like that, like a long distance backpacking trip, is great practice. But for people who can't take that much time off work, if you can do long training runs, especially long training runs overnight. That's my dog.
Yeah.
That's Sirius Black.
Oh, right.
If you can do long training runs overnight, that's going to help you a lot. If you can just be comfortable saying, I'm going to be alone in the woods in the dark for 10 hours, in difficult weather. If you can do that, then you're probably ready, for the twat. But if you're like, well, I always train with a friend and I only run when it's good weather, you know,
Right. Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. So, do you have any aspirations to plan loops or?
I'm sorry, your audio was cutting out again.
Oh, I don't know. Sorry about that. I don't know why it's becoming an issue suddenly. But do you have any aspirations to do 8 loops out there or?
Oh, um, 8 loops, so the 4 loops has kicked my butt the 3 times that I've done it.
Right.
And so then to think about 8 loops, now I know you can sleep, you can do 2 loops and get into your car and sleep for a couple hours, and then go do 2 loops and then come back to your car and sleep for a couple hours. I've never tried anything like that. It scares the heck out of me. It's intriguing, but I'm not making any plans.
Okay.
I'm not ruling it out, maybe, but oh my gosh, it's so hard. I think what I'm worried about is, say I do 2 loops and I sleep in my car for a couple hours. I don't think I'm getting back out of my car because 2 loops is hard.
Jeez.
And I think, I'm worried about my muscles kind of, freezing up while I sleep, and then just trying to get out of the car and have the energy to go back out there. I think that would be so hard. But people do it. People have done 7 loops, people have done 8 loops, not very many.
Right.
And I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
I think it's another level. Like, it's another kind of sport almost. If you're doing
Right.
4 loops versus 8 loops, it's like a different kind of sport. And I have not trained much on sleep deprivation and, recovering from a sleep and going back out again. I think when I sleep, that's when all the swelling takes place. Like my knees swell up, my ankles swell up. And it's like, how in the world do you do that?
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess that's a good point. Well, I think that's about all I've got. Do you have anything else you'd like to share?
No, but are you thinking about 8 loops?
Oh, I am actually. I was about to post that you won't be passing the February award back to me this coming year, because that's where I'll be, unless they start an 8 loop award.
Well, I mean, I think that's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you're going for 8 loops in February.
I am. Yeah,
You
we'll
heard
see
it.
how
You
it
heard it
goes.
here first, folks.
That's correct. Right.
Good luck.
Thanks. I'll need it. I was disappointed I had to miss out last year, but can't do anything about getting sick the week of the race. So
Because you were planning on doing
yeah,
8 loops last year.
yeah, yeah. And then I got sick, so I couldn't come out. And I ended up translating that into a really good spring's worth of races. So I was pretty happy nonetheless.
Well, that's good. Has anybody ever done 8 loops in the winter?
No,
I don't think so. Oh
no,
my,
it's just the 3 guys who did it in October a couple of years ago.
which is still insane.
Yeah, and 2 of them came in right under the wire. So
Yeah, good luck. I'll be out there cheering for you around the fire.
okay, yeah, out at the second road crossing, is that it? Or
Well, hopefully the weather is such that people can get
yeah,
jugs of water and stuff to those road crossings.
yeah, that would be wonderful. I don't know if 8 loops would be possible carrying like 15 pounds of water every loop.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, it'll be a challenge and it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it, and it'll be interesting for me because I've not done 4 loops on the rocks. I did 4 loops on ice, but not on the rocks. So this will be an interesting step up for me.
Well, who knows what the conditions are going to be like this February, but they're not going to be any harder than
Yeah.
the conditions, for when you won Cold Twat. It can't be harder than that.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't know, maybe if it's rainy and muddy, that might be a little bit more challenging, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Thanks. And thanks for taking the time, man. It's been good talking to you.
I've enjoyed it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and hopefully I'll see you pretty soon.
Yeah, it'll be February before we know it.